Get ready for another video in Alex's garage. Alright, so like I said, we're going to start from here and start going this direction. First thing that goes in is these little pistons. They drop right in here. Nice and smooth, easy moving. They have a spring on them. These little springs go in those little holes. Slide right into the top of those. And those dudes have these little, I don't know how to describe them. They look like little, I don't know, kind of little tops. Anyway, they go on the top of that little spring right there. And then they're held in place with these little copper, they look like split washers, but you can see they're not offset. The slice in it is just so that it can give you enough spring as you push these down into the little holes. So they go, these little things go straight down in there. And you can just kind of push them into place around the edge. Oop, toing, or not. It's the fun part, looking for stuff that goes flying. So anyway, if you can see that little crack, this little split, if you put it on the back side back here, all you need to do is close that split a little as it goes. I suppose a screwdriver is probably the best thing for this. But I happen to be using the back of a pair of pliers. Anyway, if you move it around, get a flat pair of pliers. This will probably be better. There we go. You see how that went in? All right. My duckbill pliers did the number. So see how that little slot closed, and it creates a, see this little thing is spring loaded now. All right, let's put the other one in. There's not a specific orientation, but you can see I'm making this one point this way, so I decided to make that one point that way. All right, that one participated a little easier, cooperated. All right, there you go. So then the next thing is the starters, the starter jets. A pair of those. See, they have a thread at the top. You might want to confuse it with this one who has a thread in the middle, but when you're looking at where it goes right in here, the thread's at the top. So it makes it easier for you to not mix them up. They just kind of go in. Right like that. Again, we're not putting a lot of torque on these, we just want them to be seated. There you go. Alright, the next thing that's going in is another kind of tricky deal. So you only want the pump to push fuel in when you're not under pressure. And so the trick with those is you have a weighted check ball. They go right in here. Doink. See, they have a little weight. There's no up or down on this, you just drop it in there. Alright, and they have a little cap that goes on the top. Alrighty. Alright, so next up is these little pump jets. And you can see there's some orientation on these. First off, they have a little vinyl gasket that goes on this little edge right here. And see how this is flat on one side? The way these go in is you want this part, this is where the jet actually comes out. I suppose this would be one of those we want to make sure that we check with the carb cleaner. Let's do that. Just to make sure that we have, it's a very small orifice. Alright, so the hole's right there. Yep, you can see a little bit came out there. So we can say that that's good. So this little flat spot, if you see right in here, you can barely tell, right inside there, there's another flat spot that it goes to. When you put it in place, if you have it, like I'm going to put it 90 degrees off. If you put it 90 degrees off, it doesn't go in all the way. But when you turn it, it falls right in. So those are the pump jets. Let's make sure this one's clear as well. Yep. All right, so when you step on the gas, those are what spray gas right into the back of the throttle plate right here. See that? They stick out. They stick out right there, and they will just inject a little squirt of fuel right in the hole. All right, so these have a cap. It goes on the top. All right, so this nifty kit that I got from Redline Racing comes with the O-rings. So I put some new O-rings on here, and because these are exposed from the outside, they are not covered by the cap. I have gone ahead and polished these to a mirror finish to go with all the other polishing that I've done on this. So we're going to go ahead and place these in place. Fresh new O-rings and polished finishes. That will look really nice. Give them just a little bit of torque. That's all they need. All right, on to the next part. All right, so now we're going to put these on. You can see I polished these up too because they're visible from the outside. Nice shiny screw tops. I'm trying to be careful not to scratch them when I tighten them. The method that I like to practice is to back a screw backwards until you hear it clunk, and then you know the threads are ready. Specifically when you're screwing into aluminum, because you don't want to take a chance of stripping it. These little screws are really easy to go cattywampus. So I'd like to back them up till they click. Then I know that the threads are lined up. And just put a little bit of tight on that. Those have brand new O-rings as well. All right, next little thing here. All right, so we're going to put this right in the bottom down there. And what I did here is I put a piece of hose over the end of my screwdriver. You can see it's just flexible hose. I've got the jet in one end of the hose, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop it in there. Again, back it up until you hear the click. There you go. Bob's your uncle. Oop. Should slide right off. There you go. There you go. See, it's all in the right place. All right, so real easy one here. We're just going to drop these. Whoops. Main jets in place. Kind of a slam dunk there. The idler jets in place. Go down a ways. All right, next thing up. All right, so let's put this pump in place. So as I had mentioned before, during disassembly, this pump was, it was stuck. It was actually fused in place from, some kind of fuel or whatever that got in there. And so when we forced it out, we ended up bending this piece right here. You see, that's unserviceable. This is supposed to hold, the piston with that little rod. So we ordered a new one, and it came with a new spring. So we can discard these two components. All right, so here's our new one. Ooh, nifty. All right, so first thing that goes on is this retaining thing. It has a texture to it. I don't know if you can see these little raised nubs. Those are for the to retain the spring. So they go. If this is the top, they go down. So you throw this on the shaft like this. All right, then the new spring goes on over the top of this. All right, and then you take this little piston on, and all you need to do is, I don't know if you can see, if you put it on 90 degrees out, you can slide this little hook on there, and then you just turn it, and then it's connected. This goes right in here. It goes down in there. just like on these other retainers, this little copper dealie has to squinch to close tight. Okay, that's in place. Now you should be able to see that move when you activate the throttle. That's working off of this little cam down here. If you can see this little cam, you can see how that touches right there is where it touches. All right, so the thing about that is that the next thing is we need to put this retaining spring in place. Let's get that baby. Nobody likes playing with springs. They're never any fun. So what's going to happen is this retaining sheet right here is going to go over the top, and it's going to hold it right here. This spring is going to go down this little shaft, and we're going to grab, where can we grab this? I can show you. And if you can see, the spring is going to go over the top right here. Whoops, let me get this in the screen. All right, the screen, it's going to go right on top of this right here. So you'll see when it comes down, it goes down in there. And it will grab it right there. See where it's at the top now? So that's the trick with this, is to get it down there far enough that you can get it to connect. Make it connect while it's out of sync. Okay. So I'm controlling this with this pliers. I'm going to bend this. Go over the top. There you go. You see that? Get it to go over the top. Clink, just like that. Can you see? See if I can zoom in on this. Whoops, dang it. Now you can see right there, the spring goes into that little loop. All right, so now, if you're looking at this, the spring is way down there. You got to pull that back up in order to engage this retaining pin, this little plate. That's the trick. All right, so I'm going to take some pliers and I'm going to pull it up. And that's the cool thing about the needle nose, that I can get the spring on the other side of it. Now all I need to do is get this doohickey in between the top and the bottom. Oops, am I going out the back way? I guess I am. All right, you see how I got it there? Can you see that? Now all I have to do is let go. Let's make sure that this is seated square in the center. Everything's copacetic. Ta-da! That wasn't all that hard. But now you see this is standing strong, and the throttle closes on its own now. Zoom back out. All right. Now it's all connected. And that makes the throttle close. But when you slam the accelerator, that pump will create pressure that will squirt into and out of those jets right there. That's how that accelerator jet works. All right, now we're going to start jacking with the floats. All right, so this next thing here, we're gonna put the floats on. But this is a brand new top cover, and this top cover doesn't have a split like some of them do, and it came with a crossbar. Well, here's my old crossbar right here, and the kit came with a crossbar as well. So I have crossbars coming out my ears. So first thing I need to do is I need to take this crossbar off. The way this works is the floats are going to, these actually have some glazing on them. Maybe I should clean these up too. Don't worry, I'm not going to polish them. Let me clean this up and then we'll break back in. Alright, so before you put the float on, what I've done is I pulled the shaft, but I didn't move it completely. It's just far enough that we can get everything together. You can't get the gasket on when the float's on. So the first thing you have to do is put the gasket on. Now, this kit comes with a couple of different gaskets, and you can see there's some subtle differences. Some additional screw holes. I don't have a screw there. This is not my gasket. This is my gasket. Matches my screw holes. I don't have an extra screw over here. Alright, so there's my gasket. That's covering all the holes that are necessary. Okay, cool. So then we're going to go ahead and put this on. The way this works is there's a tab here, and that tab is going to open and close. Oh, here it is. This tab. This right here is going to open and close the jets. Right? So we can't put the jet on if the float's in the way, so we have to put the jet in. This kit comes with new jets. I'm sorry, a new valve. So that's kind of nifty. The valve has a, I don't know if you can see. Put something in the back so you can see. It has a kind of a rubber tip to it on the end, and that seats in the end down here. So first thing we need to do is put this dealy bobber in there. You know what? I think this comes with an aluminum gasket. Let me put that on there. Now this is kind of an important gasket. Here we go. So when this turns off, it's basically turning off the fuel pump. So all the pressure that's in the fuel pump, you need to have a good seal. When it turns off, you want it to turn off. I mean, just cut and dried, it's off. We don't want it to seep or leak or do anything funky. I believe that is a metric socket. Here's a 10 millimeter. Yep. Give that a little snug. I'm not going to try to break it. All right. This has a little stainless ball on it. You can see that right there. It's spring loaded, so that's going to do what it does. This is going to go right in like that. So let's go ahead and push this a little bit further in the right direction. These pliers don't have any teeth, so it's not going to make a mar. So just FYI, in case you're wondering what I'm doing. I'm actually trying not to damage it. There we go. Well, that's what I wanted to avoid. Now the trick is to get that to slide back without injuring yourself or denting this. The best way to do that is with a pair of pliers, but see, and now I've got it so far it won't work with this. Let me get a different pair. Trying to keep it straight, not trying to force it. Keep it moving straight. And switch to the small pliers now. And we go. Ta-da! Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that the float has the right measurement. All right, so we're going to have a look at the float here. All right, so there's a couple of things in the geometry to take into account when you're measuring the float distance. First of all, inside here, you can see there's a little ball bearing with a spring. That gives you that much deflection. The way that the measurement is, and I'll show you in a quick little reference document here. The way that they have it is, while the float is resting on the ball bearing and the ball bearing is not depressed, you should have 15 millimeters, including the gasket. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm good. 15 millimeters. Now, if you depress that little ball bearing, then you should go to 12 and a half. I'm going to go ahead and push this with my finger. Hard to do everything all at once here. I think you can see that I've got that too. So these floats are good, and I don't think I have to worry about those. So this assembly is ready to go on the top. Before I do that, I'm thinking that I want to install the cold start mechanism here. I don't think you can call it a choke. But basically there's a little device that goes in right here, and it has some little teeth. Let me pull that for you. Alright, so this is the cold start mechanism. You see right here, this little shaft, you can take this one out. This one is it's in there. You're not going to take it out. But if you take them out, you got to get these gears lined back upright. Now let me show you what I found out. These little hooks have to be lined up together. So that means that on the one that stays in, it needs to go into that first hole. And that makes them line up. And when you get them lined up so that they're 180 degrees across, then this thing with its flat flange can accept the little lever that goes onto it. See, this is where you're going to pull your choke right here, right? Okay, so now you have that. Put your retaining pin on, retaining ring on, and you put on a nut. Okay, now you can see it has these little catches that keep it from going too far, and that keeps those teeth from disengaging. See how that works? And as long as these are in the same orientation, then you'll be golden. Now, these little tabs are going to go into these little slots right in here. And that's going to pull these little levers back up, or these little pistons up and down. And that'll change the, see how it's, remember we put a spring up here on these? So these are spring loaded now, right? It's going to go in these little slots right in here. So when you put that in there, you just got to make sure that those slots are oriented the same way. All right, now you can see, I guess you really can't see from here, but you can feel that it's spring-loaded and that those pistons are in fact engaged. See, I'm at the bottom here, I'm at the top here, and it's spring-loaded, which means these springs are pulling that back. All right, let's put those screws in place and be done with this thing. And we can put the top cap on. It's kind of tricky. If you pull that apart to clean it, you got to make sure that you put those gears back in the right orientation. Okay, and so now while I'm here, we can put a gasket on. This little dealie. Kind of a snug fit. There it goes. All right. And I polished this, although it's kind of weird to have polished that because it goes against the engine. Nobody will ever see that. But, you know, I into polishing stuff. Little countersunk screws. Okay, let's put this top on. Try to get the gasket nicely centered. There's not a lot of sealing surface around the edge. Make sure you get all that in there. There are 5 screws that are going to go in here. Now, I did a really good job of polishing, so I think I'm going to give these screws a little bit of attention. Now, these are metal. They're not brass, but they're kind of cruddy looking. So I'm just going to give them a once over and see if I can clean them up a little. All right, nice shiny screws now. It's amazing how nicely, just a little bit of buffing on the drill press will do some miracles. That will go nicely with these nicely polished top covers. One of the advantages to having a polished carburetor is that it's real easy to clean. When you get a little soot on there from the engine compartment, it will take nothing to just give it a quick wipe down, and there's no grooves or anything for it to catch in. So all that polished area will become really easy to clean. A couple little things, idle set screws. I'm not going to polish these. Okay, we're going to seat them. The idle mixture screws. We're going to seat them, back them out 1 3/4. Seated 1 1/2 1/4. Aside from linkage, and I think I'm going to polish one more piece of brass to put on top here. You just need to put the fuel connection, but we're going to wait until we get to that. And that's it. There you go. That is the Weber DCOE 45 carburetor installed or rebuilt. And just to recap, we did talk about the difference between fixed venturis versus the variable venturi of the SU. The SU carburetor, because it has that variable venturi, the time that it takes for it to go from one mode to the next is not nearly as quick as a fixed venturi. This having as many different jets and different settings that the Weber has, it gives you a very smooth transition from idle and into a full power. So this should be a good solution. We'll have to see how it goes once we get the engine running. But there you go. That's that in a nutshell. If you have any questions, make sure that you comment in the comment section. Please subscribe. I got more coming up. I'm going to have to install this. I'm working on the fuel pump. We're going to be doing that later on. So that's all I have for today. Have a good day. Cheers.